Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this wonderful world of ours. It's Shockwave, and today I have a personal replay for you guys. This is a game I just played today in the Tier 9 Japanese premium destroyer, the Minegumo. Now, you're probably thinking, well, Shockwave, it's a Tier 9 destroyer, it's a Japanese torpedo boat destroyer of all things, and I thought you didn't like playing torpedo destroyers. Well, I don't, but this game was too good to pass up, so I thought I'd just put it on the YouTubes for fun. Anyways, let's take a look first at the matchmaker. As you can see, we have a very battleship-heavy matchmaker in this small-scale 9-on-9 match here on the Greece map. We are starting south spawn on the seaside, obviously. Now taking a look at the lineups for both teams, I noticed that both teams have 2 destroyers and an aircraft carrier. However, the teams are not actually symmetrical. One team has 6 battleships, that being my team, and the other enemy team has 5 battleships and a cruiser in the form of the Tier 8 premium Pan-Asian cruiser, the Wukong. Whew, that was a bit of a mouthful. Anyways, I also noticed that the enemy team has a triple Vladivostok division. We'll get to that in a minute, but first we need to talk about the Minegumo. Minegumo is, of course, an Asashio-class destroyer that resides at Tier 9. Unlike the Asashio, however, it's not equipped with these super specialized deep-water torpedoes. In fact, its gimmick is less specialized and more generalized. Much like all Japanese torpedo destroyers, it has the trademark good stealth, decent speed, and of course, slow turning, relatively slow firing, but hard hitting 127 mm guns. However, its calling card obviously is the, torpedo launchers. Now, the torpedo launchers on the Minegumo do reload a little bit faster than the ones on the Yugumo, with a base reload of 100 seconds, as opposed to the Yugumo's 114 seconds. However, what separates the Minegumo from its counterparts, and this is something that it actually shares with the Yamagiri at Tier 11, is of course the ability to swap between 2 sets of torpedoes, as you can see at the bottom of your screen. The first torpedo option, which is the one I'm using right now, are long-range, slow, relatively easy to detect, but still relatively hard-hitting torpedoes, with 15 kilometers of range and 21,000 alpha damage. As this Nagato is about to find out, he's about to eat a torpedo directly on the nose there, and, well, yeah, that's 15,000 damage into him already. I'm, of course, taking control of the camera here, and I'm making sure that you guys get a pleasant viewing experience. So, if I shift between camera views at times, please forgive me. Anyways, with that little side note out of the way, let's talk about the other torpedo option that the Minegumo carries, which are short-ranged, very fast, and very, not super hard-hitting torpedoes. These torpedoes definitely do not hit as hard as the ones on the Yugumo. They lack about 2,000 alpha damage, but they still are very fast, and they still do a pretty hefty amount of damage anyways. Now, about those guns. The Asashio has just popped around the corner, and now my goal is, of course, to try and engage him, and get him out. Do as much damage as possible. I'm going to take a smoke here, obviously, and that's when the Minegumo pops around the corner, gets himself detected, and I take a big chunk of damage. I would say that was an absolutely unnecessary amount of damage that I took. Now, you guys are about to see the benefits of having these short-ranged, very fast torpedoes. The Yugumo actually doesn't reverse back into a smoke or leave it, and as a result, he actually eats 2 torpedoes, but it only takes 1 to kill him. And of course, you guys saw the fireworks there. That is, in fact, the Yamamoto Isoroku proc, the first blood talent, which gives me an extra consumable charge of both smoke and engine boost. So there we are. That was a relatively good start for me, getting the first one and the devastating strike. So my initial goal was to try and hold the sea cap against the Nagato, the Wukong, the Asashio, and whatever else might be here. However, it's at that moment, or rather I noticed a couple of moments ago, that all three Vladivostoks have actually opted to push through the middle into the B cap. Gonna let the torpedo noise play. And, anyways, back to the game. What that means is, for my team, is that there's now a very clear and present danger from these Vladivostoks pushing through the middle of the map. So my reaction, obviously, is to try and counter this. I send a set of long-range torpedoes, anticipating that one of the Vladivostoks, or in fact both of the Vladivostoks, will end up pushing around the corner at an angle sufficient enough for me to actually get these torpedoes on target. Again, these torpedoes are very long range, but that does not necessarily mean that they are dodgeable, as easily dodgeable. They still have relatively decent concealment, and they're still relatively fast with a speed of 63 knots as built, as I have it on the Minegumo right now. I will link my build obviously down below in the description of the video for those of you interested. In any case, my next secondary goal in this position is obviously to spot these two Vladivostoks from my Yumihari and my Colorado, with supporting casts from Kaga. Now, unfortunately for this lead Vladivostok, he chose to turn into the potential location of my Team Z-23 at the wrong time and ends up eating 6 torpedoes, well, not 6, but 5 torpedoes. 5 torpedoes. But still, a lot of torpedoes nonetheless for his trouble, which is, well, to say the least, relatively unfortunate. Now, my second thought is to torpedo this Vladivostok, the second one, the one that's, trailing behind the lead Vladivostok who just died. However, my Z-23 has actually opted to make a very bold move and actually charge out and torpedo this Vladivostok. And that's what I noticed. Oh, hey, the Asashio team came back, and he's actually opening fire on the Z-23. So now, my thought process goes something like this. I'm going to smoke up, use the residual spotting from both the Kaga's dive bombers and whatever spotting I can get from the Z-23 to take the opportunity to punish this Vladivostok's lack of a DCP by setting a couple of fires on him. The Minegumo's guns do reload at a respectable 5.7 seconds and have a 8.5% base, or an 8% base fire chance, which I have built out to 10% with the appropriate flags. I do set a fire on him, and I send a set of short-range torpedoes towards him. Now, watch the second move. I'm going to send a set of short-range torpedoes towards where I anticipate the Asashio will be. I'm not actually trying to torp the Wukong here, I'm actually trying to hit the Asashio. There goes the Vladivostok eating a torpedo because he had in fact beached on the island, and yes, that just happened. As I anticipated, the Asashio was going to try and push through into our backline, and I got a very nice torpedo hit onto him, and that basically sealed the deal for that very unfortunate Asashio, and has actually turned the favor of the game towards my team. Or rather, I should say, turn the tide of the battle in my team's favor. That's probably a better way of wording that. In any case, now we have to deal with this Wukong and this Nagato getting on the side of my team, while the Iowa and the Graf Zeppelin are all the way up in A1. I will confirm this later on the minimap. Obviously, as we progress through the battle, the Graf Zeppelin is in fact at A1. Now I'm going to take a very risky maneuver and actually shoot at this Nagato with the Wukong standing right there. I'm counting on, first, that the Wukong not actually having good aim, and two, the Nagato actually not really paying that much attention, and, well, he just shot at the Yumihari as I opened up. He does actually DCP the double fire. I was not expecting to have a DCP, but turns out he did. Now my goal is to try and kill this Nagato as quickly as possible and go dark before the Wukong can actually kill me. I do get some pretty solid hits into the Nagato. I have a fire ticking on him, and there is the Kraken, and there is the Yamamoto Isoroku Kraken Unleashed perk, the second wind talent. So obviously, for those of you who don't know what Second Wind does, I'm going to press... I unfortunately cannot press H in this battle to view my stats, but it gives you better gun reload, better torpedo reload, and of course, as you can see, restores a ton of health over a 2-minute period. However, we're not going to get to use that in this battle, because with the death of the Wukong, and the fact that the Graf Zeppelin and the Iowa are all the way up in the corner, this basically ends my contribution to the battle. So, while we're sitting here waiting for this battle to end, and before I'm going to just fast forward it a little bit, let me talk about some of the nuances between the Minegumo and the Yugumo, and my general opinion on the Minegumo. Now, obviously, I actually have not played the Yugumo before. I'm only going off of what I know from my compatriots and my colleagues, those of which who I played the game with. And they have told me that the Yugumo is actually a very nice torpedo destroyer with nice long-range torpedoes, good reload, great stealth, and good speed. The Minegumo, for my playing experience so far, has been a very enjoyable one. It's not the fastest torpedo destroyer in the world, and as you can see, I'm not quite running Swift and Silence, because I have opted to take an alternative skill instead, but I can say this with utmost confidence, that the Minegumo does actually present a relatively unique opportunity as a torpedo boat, well, a torpedo destroyer player. I wouldn't say unique opportunity. It's relatively similar to other Japanese torpedo boats in the fact that it does have long-range, hard-hitting torpedoes, and still shorter range but also hard-hitting torpedoes. What makes Minegumo unique is the fact that you can switch between two options on the fly, which is something that hadn't been seen up to this point at anything below Super Ship tier. In my honest opinion, Minegumo is it's not exactly a forgettable destroyer. It's still a relatively strong, well, relatively good ship, because it is still stealthy, it's still relatively fast, it has all the trademarks of being a Japanese destroyer, but it doesn't really have anything to set it apart from the other Japanese torpedo destroyers that you'll find, or the other torpedo boats at this tier as well, such as, say, Östergötland, Yugumo, or... well, Östergötland and Yugumo are really the only two torpedo destroyers at this tier. Östergötland sets itself apart by being a great defensive unit, and of course Yugumo sets itself apart by having great torpedo power. So, that's my general opinion on the Minegumo. It's an above-average premium, one of those ships that you can get as a collector's item because it is a historical ship, obviously. It's one of the Asashio-class destroyers that participated in World War II, but otherwise not the strongest ship in the toolbox. Yugumo, pound for pound, is definitely a better ship. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's talk post-battle results. We got a pretty decent credit haul, 1.12 million credits for our troubles. 3 devastating strikes is very nice to see, along with the Kraken, High Caliber, and of course the First Blood. 9 torpedo hits total, and for those 9 torpedo hits, we got a total of 125,000 damage. We got another 15,000 out of our guns, and we got another 12,000 out of damage over time. Going to the team score, as you can see, we finished with a pretty healthy 2.3k base XP, about 500 in front of the Kaga. Commiserations to him for playing an excellent game, obviously. And of course, commiserations to everybody in this match who played the best game that they could. In terms of other things, obviously, we take a look at the number of ships we killed. We got the Yugumo from full health, we got the Asashio from full health, we got this Vladivostok from basically full health, and then the Gato and the second Vladivostok that we damaged also took a bit of a beating, both of them eating a torpedo, but also being subjected to our guns. So, yeah, I would say for a Japanese torpedo destroyer, and as I've said before, I don't really like playing Japanese torpedo destroyers. But overall, a pretty solid game. And I do hope all of you enjoy watching this. And if you do, I don't like saying this, but like, subscribe. And if you guys are looking forward to this kind of content, wait until I release a video, because my upload schedule is about as inconsistent as it gets. In any case, thank you all very much for your time, and I will catch you all later.